two.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, all? America, we in the building again. It's your boy, Ron and Don, Brooklyn Bears Ball Sports Talk Show. You know how we do. We in the building. We got so much stuff to talk about. My Lakers took a bad L last night. Listen, man, we're going to talk about Lakers. We're going to talk about the Nets and that very impressive win last night. They did their thing. Shout out to Brooklyn, man. But listen, before we get into all this good stuff, I need y'all to do us a favor. I need y'all to subscribe. I need y'all to like. I need y'all to share. I need y'all to comment. Hit that little all notification button there. All right, smash them buttons today, all right? YouTube, Facebook. Let's get it on. We so appreciate all the support that y'all been giving us, man. Big D, what's good with you, bro?
What's going on, man? Listen, we have so much to talk about, so many good things to discuss. I'm excited about this show. Let's get into it. As mentioned, what a comeback from the Brooklyn Nets yesterday. The largest comeback in NBA this season. 28-point comeback. Sorry, Lakers, we got that back real quick. Thank you. We appreciate it. The Nets were playing the Boston Celtics, who is second in the East. Obviously, no one gave us a shot to win the game. And although Rod will lead you to believe that the Nets are dead in the water and we're going to go from the fifth seed to out of the playoffs or in the play-in, I beg to differ. I think that the East, I will stay on this, the East is weak. I think we had enough cushion when we had Kyrie and KD that we'll be somewhere between the 5th and the 7th seed. We won't be in the play-in. We're not the Lakers, So I was very excited by what I saw. Mikal Bridges, 38, 10, and 4. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was good. And the Celtics had their full arsenal. They had Jaylen Brown. They had Tatum. They had all of their players. Mm-hmm. We played a very the defense. We're gonna have to because we don't have a superstar that can just elevate our team to the next level and just when we need a bucket and they just Mikal Bridges is being that for us, but let's face it, from his previous role when he was in Phoenix, he wasn't to that degree. Now, just like anything else, we see what Jalen Brunson is doing. Once you leave, great players or a team, and now you're getting the exposure and the opportunity to be, really expand and be that great player that maybe was suppressed on another team. So we're seeing that Mikal Bridges has a lot of promise, and he is indeed, turning to be a really good player, maybe a budding great player. So I'm excited by that. I like what his numbers are, and it was a good win for us. We just have to continue with other teams losing and us winning. It helped us out. We still in the 6th seed, and I'm confident that we'll fall when it's all said and done. We'll be anywhere between the 5th and the 7th seed. What do you say?
Well, listen, Bridges, I will say he's definitely looking to get what I would consider him moving into stardom as an NBA player. He was a role player in Phoenix. He's definitely the man now in Brooklyn. So I like that he's meeting the challenge. He's actually showing the world that, look, I can play on a high level. I can consistently score. He's a really good shooter from 3. I like Cam as well. And I think it's a good little combo there. I think with Brooklyn, it's kind of hard to tell. When I look at this team, I'm thinking more about next year, what they're going to look like next year, what they're going to do with the whatever expiring contracts they have, and even what they may even do with Ben Simmons, right? I mean, that will be a hard contract to move, but I'm thinking more futuristic with them to that degree. I mean, can they make the playoffs? I think they'll. To me, the verdict is still out because Miami took a loss yesterday to the Knicks. Y'all are not betting any of the teams that are above you in the standings right now. Even though y'all did beat Boston last night, but you're not better than Boston. But that was a good win. But nevertheless, you got to look at Miami, Atlanta, and Toronto. Those teams that are behind you guys, and even the Wizards. So those are the teams. If you're a Net fan, you want to keep your eye on those guys, see how those teams are faring, how they're playing. But the Nets definitely got to just win their games when they can. And that's going to really be the key. But I like what they, that was a good win last night. To me, and again, I'm saying it with the Lakers when we did it on Sunday against Dallas. And I said that to you when we were texting during that game. It's early. When you have early leads, I didn't watch the game yesterday, so I don't know when they begin to overtake in that game, the Nets, that is, but if Boston was leading in by 27 points anywhere in the first half, to me, that's still way too early. It's a lot of basketball because teams will cool off after a while. They're shooting well. They're shooting hot. At some point, you're going to cool down a little bit, particularly if you're playing a really good defensive team. And the Nets are a defensive team. I like Jacque Vaughn in that sense. He definitely coaches a defensive mindset type strategy and implements that into his players. So, but, at some point, again, not taking away from the Lakers or the Nets from their comeback wins. But, when you overcome a 20-point deficit, say, in the middle of the third quarter, you know what I'm saying, or in the beginning of the fourth, then that's when your comeback really is saying something. But, nevertheless, good team. They played the Boston Celtics. We know, they're the Eastern Conference champs. And so that was a good win, though, D. I ain't going to take nothing away from you guys. Y'all did. Y'all did your thing.
It sounded like you tried to, but it's cool. It doesn't matter. A W is a W. We got it. So
it's a W.
All right, so let's quickly talk about the Lakers.
Okay.
The Lakers, unfortunately, suffered a loss at the hands of the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis had a really good game. But I think what happens is the inconsistency of those players, although they're a better team post Westbrook, there wasn't, Reeves and all those players that looked good. It's not consistent. It's not consistent enough to be sustainable when LeBron is not on the floor. You need LeBron and you need AD in order for the team to be successful. Right. And now I've seen that LeBron's foot or ankle needs to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. And then there is talk that LeBron may need some type of surgery on his foot or ankle. So at the end of the day, what do you think that your team can do? Do you think they can win enough games certainly their chances, I think their percentages of going and being in the play-in is like something like 67 or close to 70%. Right. So they'll most definitely make the play-in. Yeah. If they are still able to, win games, if Anthony Davis doesn't sustain any injuries, because if he does, it's over. It's a wrap. You need Anthony Davis and you need him to play at a high level. And he has been playing at a really high level on both ends of the floor, defensively, offensively. And you just need another player to come along with him to help him. And, kind of, because LeBron's 25 to 30 points, you have to make that up. Yeah. And you're missing that not only as far as what LeBron provides on the defensive end, but also what he provides in just the whole navigating the team, getting the offense in the right place, because he still at an advanced age it gets that much attention. People are wide open. If you can't hit wide open shots, just ask the Clippers. They don't even play defense on Westbrook anymore. I mean, the game with Draymond Green stood in the paint and let Westbrook shoot. Yeah. So when you have open shots, you have to take full advantage of that. Right. And so naturally, LeBron and AD being on the floor creates that for all the other role players. They don't have that now. What do you think they're going to do?
I think it's going to be tough, D. I mean, without LeBron, and even though we have, and the sad part is this, we actually, according to most of the comparisons of the rest of or the remaining schedule in the NBA, we have one of the easiest schedules, they say. But when you take away LeBron and then you still got the possibility of an AD intermittently missing games, you don't stand a chance. It's going to be hard. It really is. I mean, I do like our chances to get into the play-in, but at that point, if we get to the play-in, I do think we could prevail. But at least get enough to get into the playoffs, and then what happens at that point. But again, right, you don't know how LeBron's going to look, how he's going to perform or react to the ankle. And so I just have concerns with that. Our role players are really good. I like this team a lot. I really do. I really love these guys. These guys really play hard. Beasley's a really good shooter. I thought he should have taken more shots. I thought took too many shots, in my opinion, Schroeder last night. And then he got a little dumbfounded towards the end running the team. So, again, to your point, that's what we really miss a LeBron in that sense. So it's going to be hard because with role players, right? Role players, what are they known for? Not really being consistent, and they struggle when the stars are not out there. So, that's the problem with the Lakers that we have right now. So I think we'll make a little bit with Russell. He's supposed to play, I think, on Sunday. So we'll see what that looks like. They play actually Golden State. So we'll see. Russell should be back because he was supposed to be back for last night's game, but I think they wanted to save him for Golden State. So he'll be back, and I think that'll definitely make a difference because then Shooter minutes will go down. He'll be, in the role position. So you got a little bit more to work with in terms of your rotation there, and Russell will definitely make a difference because he's a better three-point shooter too. He could spread the floor a lot better. So I think we could do some things, D. But I'll be honest, man, it's hard without LeBron. It's going to be really, really tough. Really, really tough. So
you think, are you predicting them to beat Golden State on Sunday?
Whew, boy, if AD rocks out, yes, we can. We can beat Golden State. We can beat Golden State. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, we can beat Golden State. Yeah, because they don't have nobody that can hold AD. AD is if they, look at it that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If who looks at it that way?
If the Lakers are aggressive and can run their offense through AD, then yeah, we can win. You got to go inside out now. That's the only way you could play now. You know what I'm saying? You can't play surgically because you don't have a LeBron to do that. So you just got to go old school basketball, go inside out. Get AD down there in the block and let him go to work. That's what you're going to have to do.
And do you think AD is built to – because AD at this point, without LeBron being there, AD is going to have to play back-to-backs. He's going to have to just grind it out and, get treatment – after the games, ice up, but
I agree.
He is the man on the team now.
Yes, he is.
There is, although you guys did win when AD didn't play, AD and LeBron, the game before last, you were able to get a W. But consistently, if he's not there, I would say 95% of the games moving forward, because I do think you have quite a few home games left.
Yeah, we do.
Which should be,
we have a lot more home games left. Yeah,
which should be of a benefit to you. So the NBA is doing everything possible to make sure you guys make the playoffs.
That's what everybody's trying to say.
It's better for the NBA for LeBron to be there. Even if you guys make it to the first round, you can't say it won't be exciting. Everybody will always give them a shot, even if they wind up playing Denver or Memphis. Sure. And Memphis, hey, listen. If you're immature, that's an immature team, top to bottom. They have a good coach, but immature.
Very immature team.
You got Dylan Brooks talking about Draymond Green. He doesn't like him. He doesn't like anything about him. We got Morant trying to be a gangster, but we're going to get into that later. Now, my last question about the Lakers is, is it time for the Lakers to shut LeBron down for the season? And the reason why I ask that is because if LeBron truly has really wants to play with his son, Bronny, or even play long enough to play with Bronny and Bryce, if you really don't have a true shot, because even if by a miracle you get through the first round, you make the play-in, you get through and beat Denver. Let's just say Denver is going to be the 1 seed. You beat Denver. Do you really think that you can, with the health issues that you guys have pretty much had all season, and to AD's point, pretty much his whole career off and on, he's not reliable that way. LeBron has been an Iron Man for the majority of his career, but he's getting up in age. So realistically speaking, injuries will start to mount more and more the older you get.
Sure.
Is it time to shut him down to add to the longevity of his career? Maybe get 2 more good seasons rather than putting all your eggs in a basket, thinking that you're going to make a real good playoff push, and then it amounts to just a first round exit. And then more damage is done, and then it's a setback, or at what point do you think longer term? Now, you don't have a long runway because LeBron's 8 years are coming to an end, but at the same time, thinking about, okay, if we can get 2 more years, maybe we can build more team chemistry, maybe we get a few more pieces, maybe Kyrie will come in the offseason. At what point does the organization and LeBron think about, hey, this ain't no future in my front, and we not getting nothing out of this season, let me shut it down? What do you say?
No, I can't. No way. You can't even entertain that. And here's why. Number one, for this season alone, you still have an opportunity, right? At least to get into a play-in. You got a really good core team. LeBron is rehabbing or rest. Well, I won't say resting, but rehabbing from his injury, right? So LeBron technically won't be available possibly until a play-in game, right? You have to keep that window open. And not only that, because the West is so tight and teams are kind of faltering. And if you get, again, and I don't wish that on any team, but if you get injuries in other teams and you get teams that all of a sudden start not playing well, the Lakers can improve their seeding position. A lot of things can still go right for the Lakers, if provided some other things might go wrong with some of the teams. You still got to have that opportunity to play LeBron. And LeBron, just in his mentality, he wouldn't want to do that anyway. He wants to try to win another chip. And I think, again, once you get into the playoffs, to your point, if we're able to play a Denver or Memphis, there's a good possibility we could beat those teams in a 7-game series. I mean, again, you hope that LeBron reacts and responds to the ankle, you know what I'm saying, really well. You hope he can bounce back and is not really too much hampered by it. But listen, you'll still take an 85% LeBron on the court than no LeBron at all. I think his presence alone just gives you so much value. So no, I don't think you do that. That's why you made the trades this year. That's why you got rid of Westbrook. That's why you brought these young pieces in. You got a team and this team can play defense. These guys are really good on defense and they're much better shooters. So no, you got to keep LeBron. Let LeBron just get well. Let's do what he ever got to do and just try our best to get him back. And that's what we got to do, but don't shut him down. Now, he'll have a whole offseason to recover. And LeBron, look, he spends $1 million a year on his body. So, put 1.2 in there, throw another 200,000 in there. That's all. And you get him right over the offseason. And then, he'll come back for next year. And then, like you say, who knows? Might get a Kyrie or somebody there. So who knows? But yeah, you can't shut him down. We ain't thinking, Laker brass ain't thinking about Bronny. We don't forget about Bronny. We don't care about no Bronny.
No. I'm talking about, because chances that he ends up a Laker are slim to none. I'm just saying for a LeBron standpoint, because LeBron determines when he comes back and plays. It's not any pressure from the organization. They can't do it. They can't shame LeBron back into playing injured. He's already given them a brass ring, if you think about it, with the passing of Kareem, even though, because we have to look at it like this.
Excuse me.
The Lakers, if they really were concerned about this season, and they would have made those trades and those moves long before the trade deadline. They had an opportunity. They had the 2027 and 2029 first round picks. They knew Westbrook was a problem the whole time. So they dragged their feet, dug a big hole for themselves, and then for them to expect LeBron at the pretty much putting his body on the line in order to try to save face. Because if we look at it like this, whether the Lakers, if we don't think that the Lakers truly have a true shot to win it all, then what's the point of damaging him if you're thinking big picture? If you're thinking rings, right? It's a little late in the game for rings this year. I don't reasonably thinking the Lakers there's never no shot, but as close to zero as possible to win it all. Because even if they miraculously make it through the West, they can't beat the Bucks, can't beat Boston. It's just too much, because you would ask AD and LeBron not to miss any games. I know that there is some travel time in between playoff games and all that, but pretty much it's consistent. You got to be
Right.
balling out. There is no rest. There is no load management. And I think that grind would be too great for them at this point, given the fact that they have to play in a play-in to even get to the series of the first round. I think that's too much to ask. So you have to be smart about it. You have to be strategic in your thinking that, okay, if anything else, we'll build chemistry. We'll get chemistry going. We'll see who we may need to trim in the offseason, see what play. Okay, Schroeder, are you making the cut? Now that we have these extra pieces, who works, who doesn't work? D'Angelo Russell, do we want to keep you? Does that work? Do we want, maybe D'Angelo is a cheaper option and a better fit than maybe bringing a Kyrie, although they have that chemistry, because it's about chemistry. So maybe he's not a head case. Maybe he's more mature. Maybe, it wouldn't be. So they have a lot to think about prior to just this year. If this was LeBron's last year, put it all, push it all to the table, the middle center of the table, and put it all on the line. But you have to think as an organization, because the Lakers don't rebuild, they retool. So you have to try to maximize LeBron's greatness as long as you can. And if it means foregoing the playoffs or maybe shutting him down, not prematurely, but in his best interest and in the organization's best interest, then that's what you need to do.
But I say this, though. I think you make all your points are valid. I think I would center your points around the true reason why there's so much urgency for LeBron to play, whether it be this year or even next year, right? It's all centered around AD. Like, really, his urgency to play is because AD can't stay healthy. That's really where the issue lies. So you're still going to have the same issue either remaining of this season, going into next season. You're still going to be expecting LeBron to be Superman and to quickly recover from any injuries he sustains because AD can't stay healthy.
That's
so
not necessarily
unless the Lakers
true.
are going to trade AD,
you could get a third. You could get a third star, right?
If you could get a third star, right? If you could get a third star in there, but if you get another superstar, right? You're gonna lose a lot of those guys because you're talking about money. You're talking about cap. So you're gonna still lose some of these younger pieces because you got to stay young. Lakers are really a young team. Nobody's over 30 on that team except LeBron. So you got a really, really, really young team right now. So you want
AD's body is 45.
But AD, right. And again, and I think that's where your point is to me, more so about the urgency why the Lakers want to keep LeBron on the court as much as they possibly can if they got any chance to win. Because next year is not going to be any different either. You're still coming into a season with not knowing what you're going to get from AD as far as his health. Because then a guy is missing 20. I mean, he missed 22 straight games this year. That's a lot of games. It's not like even in pockets. When you start missing consecutive weeks, that's a problem, man. It's hard to recover. And that's really what you're looking at with the Lakers. To me, it all centers around AD. Unless you trade off AD and get a whole bunch of other good pieces back, then you got LeBron and some other really good pieces, then build a chemistry that way. But if you still depending on AD to be that 1 and 1A kind of thing, that's the problem with LeBron. That's why they brought Westbrook in, because they thought Westbrook was going to give them those minutes in the event that AD and LeBron was going to be hurt. But clearly that was a debacle. It was a complete disaster. So
I have a suggestion for a blockbuster deal. AD for Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, and Patty Mills.
Patty Mills.
You need shooting. You need shooting around LeBron.
Harris.
Right. So okay,
we need shooting and we need a bench warmer. We gotta have somebody to warm the bench too, because your boy Simmons is good at that.
Exactly.
He's good at that. Only in America.
I mean, that fits in the LA vibe. Everybody's dressed.
Yeah,
dripped in designer. Everyone's wants to see. He might have a conversation with Denzel at halftime or whatever, like LeBron did.
Right, exactly. Well, I know in another show when we have time, we'll definitely talk about what you think the Nets are going to do with your boy Ben Simmons. So at some point, we'll have to get into that, man.
I will say it's not impossible to get rid of him if you can get rid of Russ. Remember, Russ was on an expiring contract. That's only why they was able to get rid of him. Yeah, he's on an expiring contract, but people were still willing to wheel and deal. I mean, the Lakers, they acquired Russ with years left, and he had already shown that he was. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
Russ what keeps Russ and will keep him active in the NBA, some team will take him his work ethic.
Yeah.
And there's
And
a
his
lot
health.
to be said about his work ethic, his willingness to jack
don't
up a
cheat
team,
games.
because he's willing to jack up a team. No, it ain't no problem. He doesn't have a problem destroying chemistry once he arrives. You know,
Exactly.
but teams will, because at the end of the day, his engine runs hot all the time.
Yeah.
And if it's, I don't think anybody's going to be able to kind of mold it to be productive at this point, because he's kind of set in his ways. But I think there'll always be a place for someone that works like he does.
Right. I agree. There's a market for him. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about we've been talking about this for a minute, but recently Charles Barkley went on ESPN, and you know, Charles and Shaq are buddies. They do TNT. And so once again, they were, I don't know if it was simultaneously or, you know, just a series of people taking jabs at Kevin Durant. Yeah. And so I thought it would be important for us from a standpoint to just look at everybody's career numbers. Look at Charles Barkley, look at Kevin Durant, and look at Shaq. Right. And all of these players now, according to you, Charles Barkley is a great player. Kevin Durant is, I mean, you've said everything between being
he's a superstar,
a bus rider.
That he is. He's a bus rider.
And so when we look at the numbers, as they always say, men lie, women lie, numbers do not lie. Now I'm looking. Okay, so Kevin Durant's points, his average is better than Barkley. Rebounds less, assist is better. Field goal percentage is less than Charles Barkley, but let's face it, Charles Barkley, most of his scoring he wasn't taking any shots. His degree of difficulty was a lot less than Kevin Durant. 49% shooting mid-range and threes, as opposed to, you know, back to the basket, you know, super high percentage shots, you know, 5 to 8 feet from the basket is a lot easier, you know, to do. Of course, both of them 11-time All-Stars. Of course, I think Kevin Durant will probably obviously have some more All-Stars. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. But there's a few things that I don't see on Charles Barkley's bio. 4-time scoring champ. All that talk, where are your scoring titles? No scoring titles. Clearly, we know. Has he ever been a league MVP? So no. He has so much to say about Kevin Durant. Has never been the best player in the league, whether he was on. And so when Kevin Durant got that MVP, what team was he on? He wasn't on the bus riding team, right? He was on Oklahoma City, right? Yeah. And you are the real MVP and saying all that stuff that right. LeBron tries to once in a while, Savannah, you the MVP. Okay, drop the MVP. That's already been used. And of course, Charles Barkley has no championships. So my question is, I'm going to make a statement first. I think it is incredibly, Charles Barkley is taking personal shots because there is a high degree of jealousy. Because if you're a great player, just like anything else in life, certain things, if you're confident in your own abilities or you're secure, you don't have to take shots. And yes, it's his job to pretty much break down and debate and make, he has to analyze players and he has to make kind of, determinations on a player's career. That he's part of the media. So we're not asking him not to critique Kevin Durant, but really, where does the critique lie? When is it personal and when is it him doing his job? Because clearly, when you match it up, and according to you, when he's a great player, he's not. Clearly, Kevin Durant is a great player and arguably a greater player if we want to base it off of accomplishments. And a lot of these accomplishments are even before he went. So even if you took the 2 NBA championships and the 2 MVP finals MVPs away, if you look at his career, it's just as good, if not better than Charles Barkley's. So my point is, where is Charles Barkley getting this from? Is he upset that he didn't make a move or make a business decision in his career that maybe would have put him in the class of NBA champions? Because clearly, when you see them on the desk at TNT, that always, Barkley is a very outspoken individual, very opinionated. But what shuts him down is wear your rings. When Shaq says wear your rings, he has to get quiet. When Kenny says wear your rings, he has to listen. That is when Draymond Green, who just told him, I think a couple of like a week or two, he was on there and was like, yeah, you ain't got no rings though. That is where I think it becomes personal. Charles Barkley is upset because he wished that he made the moves and had the ability to move the way Kevin Durant is, being a great player in the league. What do you say?
D, with all of this animosity, as you call it, or jealousy, which I don't think it is, but where this heat is deriving from is the fact of what KD has done. That's why KD is somewhat, I don't want to say hated, but yet hated by a lot of NBA fans across the globe. It's what he did. It's how he attained his rings. He did the ultimate sucker move. Barkley's not upset that Shaq has rings, or Jordan has rings, or Magic has rings, or Isaiah has rings, and Duncan and Kobe, and even Kenny Smith, who had, who's a complete role player, in his 2 chips with Houston. It's the fact of how Kevin Durant did it. And it's a blemish that will always remain on his record. Like, you could show the stats, and yeah, that's great. But those 2 chips, they need to have asterisks next to them, because you went to a team that was already a championship team. What Barkley is trying to say is that I'd rather have pride in trying to win and beat the guys that were on my level at my time during the days I played, and compete against them. He didn't compete against, and if anything, and maybe you could argue that only showed how great LeBron has been all his career, that Golden State would need to snatch KD and compel him to come, and KD, who needed a ring and couldn't win in OKC, to come, and they pair up to try to beat LeBron. You can look at it a number of different ways. But if you are a player that wants to win and be known as one of the greatest players of your era, and to do that, you got to beat one of the better competitors in your day, that's in your era, then you want to try to do that. You want to beat Steph and Clay. You want to beat them in the West. You want to beat the best team in the East. And that's not what KD did. He did a sucker move. And that's where Barkley is coming from. And that's where everybody comes from when it comes to KD for the most part.
Who's
it
everybody?
Was a sucker MC. A lot of the fans.
Who's everybody?
A lot of fans.
If
you know what I'm gonna do? Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do some research, and I'm gonna find some kind of way. And I ask my producers to help us to get some information on what is the prevailing feeling, okay, from NBA fans about KD going to Golden State. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I'm sure there's statistics and stuff out there. I'm sure they did polls and different things on that. That's the knock on KD. No one is knocking KD's skill, his ability to shoot and score. Listen, nobody's taking away from his game. Not from his game. I never take away from his game.
You, right, really? My parents will get that. You. Long story short, Rod, let me just say this real quick. If you say that Kevin Durant is hated or disliked by NBA fans for his move, what move do you think had more hate, more jerseys burning? Kevin Durant's move, or I'm going to take my talents to South Beach?
Of course, LeBron's was met with more animosity.
Of course.
Well, because it was the first time that's done that. LeBron was and everybody, only ones that felt that way was people in Cleveland, if the truth be told. Nobody outside of Cleveland was crying that he went to Miami. Nobody cried about that. It was only
I
Cleveland
disagree
fans.
with that. I disagree with that.
It was,
There
I'm
was
not saying
everybody,
only, but the majority of the people who's burning
I know
jerseys.
New York Knicks. I know New York Knicks fans who thought that this is our final chance or our shot to land a superstar. This is our shot.
They ended up with Carmelo.
There was a lot of. Yeah, I mean, come on.
I mean, but I'm saying Carmelo at that time, in fact, he was supposed to be part of that original Big Three. Bosh was an afterthought. Carmelo said, I'm going to get the bag, fellas. I'm sorry. Knicks was paying him the max. He wasn't going to get that money. He was going to have to sacrifice.
No, he wasn't. Everyone
bread.
had to, everyone had to take a pay cut to make it work, to create a super team. Yeah, everyone has to sacrifice in order to create a super team.
Right. Well,
not
he wasn't willing to sacrifice
not six.
his money. Yeah, exactly. But that's the only thing, D, with my situation with KD is you did the sucker move. I'm not ever, and America hear me, because D will twist my narrative. I'm not ever saying that KD is not great as a basketball player. But when you talk about greats, you got to look at the whole gamut of their career, their moves, where they played, how they played, their leadership. You got to take all of that into account. It's not just a guy who can score. There's a lot of scoring champions. There was a lot of good players that led scoring, the league in scoring. That doesn't make them great. That doesn't make them,
So he's a great player. He's a great player.
Oh, KD? No, he's not, because he did a sucker move with Golden State. KD would be a great player if he gets Phoenix and wins a championship with Phoenix. If not, then that's it. He would have been a great player if he won in Brooklyn. He would have been a great player then, because he was able to then be the man on that team. I don't care what anybody say. You played with a great player in Steph, who has won 2 chips without KD.
He won one chip without Kevin Durant.
He won 2.
Right.
He won the first year and he just won last year.
You cannot bring the second chip in. You have to, because
you?
So you're gonna say that LeBron won with Dwayne Wade that won 2 chips?
Wait, say that again. What are we talking about?
Okay, so I'll say this: bringing in Steph's second chip,
right,
is not fair to the argument.
Why?
You can arguably say that Steph had a chip before you got there, right? Just as you can say Dwayne Wade had a chip before you got there, right? So that's a fair argument. But to now say he won 2, you're bringing Steph's second chip in that he just won last year. I don't think that's a fair argument.
Why not? When Golden State actually instantly, they went to being a trash team, didn't make the playoffs in a few years after KD left. Everybody wrote them off because that team now with KD is gone. They look normal again. Everybody was hating on Golden State. They were the hated team. And what did Steph do? They were hated because of what they did by having KD there. It was no competition. So everybody hated what they did.
So you think that they had? So you think they had a PR blemish by having by having KD?
Yes, against with the rest of the league and fans across the NBA. Yes, only ones that was loving that was the Warrior fans. But nobody in the NBA was happy about that move when KD went there. And then when KD left, that team, you look at that, I don't have time to pull it up. You look at their seasons after KD left. They didn't make the playoffs. They were in rebuilding mode for all intents and purposes. And then they came back and won a chip. Just like DeMarvelous said, nobody thought Golden State was going to win a championship last year. That's a lot of kudos. So what I'm saying is Steph was able to take a team.
It's a lot of luck involved.
No, but I'm saying, but give Steph his credit, though. He still took a team that everybody thought now was not going to have that dominance anymore because KD left. And after a few seasons after KD's departure, what did he do? He still brought his team back up to the mountaintop.
It wasn't solely KD's departure that made them. Remember, we didn't know if Clay was ever going to come back.
That's even more to Steph's credit, that he was able to weather and stay with that team and bring them back.
What do you mean weather and stay with that team?
Because Clay is not the player.
Okay, they didn't make the playoffs. When Clay was injured, they didn't make the playoffs. Clay started to make his way back into the lineup. What I'm saying is, it wasn't like, what would have been impressive is KD leaves and Steph holds it down, although Clay is out, and wins the championship. Then we can talk. But Clay still had to come back and play.
But D, he led his team. Can you say that Steph led his team this past season? to an NBA championship? Was he not the best player on the Warriors?
He was the best player.
Did he not lead his team to a championship?
He was the best
player. Has KD ever done that? Has KD ever led his team to a championship?
Yeah, he has.
He has?
Yeah. He led Golden State 2 years in a row.
Who did Steph have on his team? Did Steph benefit from having Kevin Durant on his team when he won his 2 chips?
No.
So who did KD benefit from having when he won his
2 out of his 4 chips? Yes, he did.
So let me ask you this question: do you think KD would have won any championships ever had he not gone to Golden State? Do you think eventually he would have won in OKC or anywhere else he would have gone?
It's hard to say. I think not. I don't think he would have won because OKC, their top brass was not willing to pay the luxury tax and keep.
Okay, we're not asking that. We're asking you a question. Do you think KD wins a finals of any kind in the NBA if he did not go to Golden State?
It's impossible to say.
Oh my God!
That's like saying, do you think LeBron would have ever won a championship if he didn't go to Miami? That's like
no. We know he did because why? He won one in Cleveland and he won one in LA. So I'm saying as the guy, KD hasn't shown that yet. KD has not shown that. We know LeBron could win without Wade and Bosh. He's done it already twice.
So my point is it has to be a first time before it can be multiple times, right? Okay. So are you saying that LeBron did not learn anything from being under the tutelage of Eric Spoelstra?
He did. He learned how to win. Okay, but see, that's everybody likes to use that for their KD argument. It's like, he went to Golden State to learn.
You said everyone hates KD,
and to be discipled, and to be, sent into the missionary fields.
You need a covering. There's a lot to be said about having a covering.
You need a covering.
And he got so are we saying that we don't need? Are you saying that we don't need a covering?
When does he become the covering for somebody else then? At what point does KD become the cover? When does he cover other players and make sure they get their money?
We will see it this year. We will see it this year.
Oh, so let me ask you a question. So let me ask you this question: if KD does not ever win another championship, how do you view his career then? Still a great player. He's still a great player. So you don't think there's going to be any knock on him that he didn't win without having to go to Golden State? Because at least LeBron, and I know the verdict is still out on KD because he's still playing.
To some people,
the chip is everything, D. A chip with you being the leader is everything.
Okay. So do you think that in LA, if Robert Horry comes into Nobu, right? Do you think that people say, you know what, you got 6 rings, but you know what, you were never the no. Okay, because you said the chip is everything if you're the man.
When it comes to a player, D, that is of the level and impact of a Kevin Durant or
why is that?
LeBron
because
James.
Is he great? You said he's not great. So if he's a bus rider.
No, because he's a superstar, and superstars are expected to lead their team to become great. See, you're great almost to the degree where your career is looked at either, and it doesn't have to be over to be considered to be great, but you can pretty much look at their body of work and say, you know what, this is an all-around great player. When Kobe won without Shaq, it was already determined. You know what? No matter what Kobe ever does, no matter how his career may fall off, which it did through injuries at some point, he was now considered to be in the pantheons of greatness.
Because he won without Shaq is what you're saying?
Yes, because he won without Shaq. He took his team and he won as being the leader. He wasn't the leader of those Laker championships from 2003.
Listen,
D, that's what it boils down. That's what
it boils down to. To you,
but that's every. Listen, most people that watching the game of basketball, looking at great players from the 80s to now, you are measured by your championships.
Nobody is self-made. Nobody is self-made. Okay.
What do you mean nobody is self-made? I mean, D, everybody has either a good coach or a good front office, a good organization. I mean, we're not talking. But that's what I'm saying. Okay, but
you're trying to make it like you're doing unreasonable expectations.
That's not
The
so.
only way that Kevin Durant is considered great is if he follows the exact steps of this person. He needs to be a hybrid of all of these players in order to be
nobody's
great.
saying that. Nobody's saying no.
We
believe that Kevin Durant is
be
good enough to lead his team.
My point is, you can't be great with your own journey. You can't, however you arrived at the end, you can't be great based on choosing. How about he's a great?
You can't.
Okay.
You can't.
And so that's your opinion.
Here's why I say because it's believed that with the
by
level
who this belief
people. But I'm saying most people.
Have you polled most people?
You don't believe that KD is a player that has the ability to lead a team to a championship?
Of course he does. He has already.
So that's the expectation that people put on KD. That we're not talking about a guy who is, if Jokic don't win a championship, nobody's not, Jokic is a really good 2-time league MVP, right? But nobody's
going to be 3-time, but that's
3 times exactly.
Consecutive.
Yeah, consecutive. That right. But KD, there's an expectation that KD did not meet with most people that they watch this guy play the game of basketball. That as great as he is, or as good in terms of how he plays, he has the ability to take his team to a finals and win.
So
he
let me ask you this question.
OKC and he didn't do it. So
Shaq has 4 rings, right?
Yes, he does.
Okay. If Shaq had kept it, was more concerned about keeping in shape off season, how many rings could he have gotten? How many rings could have the Lakers could have gotten if their egos didn't get in the way? Because we're going to talk about what ifs, right? And the ability for a team to do something. If Michael Jordan didn't go to baseball for whatever reason, whether he wanted to take a break, dealing with the death of his father, gambling, whatever the reason why he took that hiatus.
Right.
If he kept his body together, he wasn't on cigars and dark liquor. How many more rings if he didn't have that issue?
And that's a fair question. And I can answer that and say yes. He would have won 8 championships in a row. That's the prevailing belief by most people.
Right.
He would have won 8 chips.
But you're making it seem like Kevin Durant, because he is perceived to be great enough, every player has their own journey, how they get to it. One is not better than the other. Maybe one has had more adversity. But at the end of the day, you either got rings or you don't. That's the end. The argument is also made that it's how a player of KD stature. We're not talking about a star or somebody in the league who, like a Devin Booker or say, Julius Randle, or heck, even Kyrie. If these guys go like he went to Dallas and they go and whatever, nobody's going to ever, because nobody's looking at Doncic and Kyrie and those guys as players who we would say, like, man, they got their chip because they went to this player. No, nobody thought that, because people looked at KD as one of the prolific top 1 or 2 top players in the league at the time when he was in OKC. I didn't believe that. I believe that. That's why his move was so disheartening. You're saying he's just, but how many players in the NBA, just how you described it, are ever at that level, ever considered the top tier, top echelon?
That's why it's disappointing.
So that's why he is
that's
great.
What makes it more disappointing.
No. You're missing the point. That's why he's great, and you refuse to give him the great tag, which, I mean, he does at the end of the day.
He's missing a quality.
What
he
tags
can't get the full greatness. He can't get the full great tag, D, because of his move that he made. So therefore, he was a disappointment in terms of the expectation. Now, again, and this is what fanatical, right? That word fan is the root word for all of those things. So fans, obviously, we're crazies. We hold these guys to these standards, and if they don't meet our expectations, then we get to categorize them, right? Because the fans is the ones that really do that. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Somebody is writing their vote and writing up their summation on a player to get into the Hall of Fame. The players don't get to decide that. Writers, people that covered the sport, even fans.
Is he going to get in the Hall of Fame? Is he getting in the Hall of Fame?
Who, KD? Yeah. Absolutely, he's getting in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
No question. You can put him in there now.
No.
Even with he's not great. But he's not great. He's not
even
great.
with the blemish
because he got the stats. He has the stats to put him in there. Okay. But as far as the great ones go, as far as the great ones go, when you think of Jordan, D, do you think of stats or do you think of chips? When you think of Kobe, you think of stats, you think of chips. Look, Kareem was the leading scorer of the NBA in its history for the last 30-something years. Nobody even gave Kareem any props for that. Nobody gave Kareem props.
So what they give him?
Matter.
What they give him props for?
He had chips. He had chips. LeBron had to get chips.
And you know what? What is the knock on Charles Barkley? What's the knock on Karl Malone?
What's chips.
The on Patrick Ewing?
No chips.
No chips.
So either chips is the defining moment.
So if you got it or you don't, like I said, it took you 3 sips to come around to either you got the chips or you don't. So it at the end of the day, people may not like how he got there, his journey. It's chips.
He could have went to any other team but Golden State, D. That's all I'm saying. That was a sucker move. You went to the best team in the NBA.
It wasn't the best team.
That's like Ewing going to the Bulls.
It wasn't the best team.
Ewing
they were
and
coming
Miller
off
going
of
to
a
the
loss.
Bulls.
They had just lost the championship. They weren't the best team. The Cavaliers were the best team.
D. They won 73 games.
Who cares?
And they won the chip the year before that. It was in 2 back-to-back finals. So were they not considered a great team?
No, they were considered a really good team, a historic team, a historically great team. But at the end of the day, if we're talking specifics, they lost that championship.
It's okay for a guy of KD's stature to join a Western Conference championship team. That's okay for him to do that. When he could have just gone to maybe another team and just built them up and got them to win.
Did he force a trade to do that, or was he a free agent?
That's what makes it so bad. He willingly went there. It was his will to go.
No, that's what I'm saying. But he was a free
road.
agent, though, right?
He was a free agent, yeah.
Okay, so he did his time in OKC. He fulfilled his contract in OKC. And at that point, you have the right. We're
not saying that. We're not arguing his right.
He is a free man. He can go wherever he wants.
Where he can. But but I'm saying that with that still being said, we have a right to say, like, man, he has a right to do whatever he wants, which he did. But I mean, a caliber player a player of his caliber going to a championship team, Western Conference championship
you're
team.
You're talking out of both sides of your face. At one point, you're saying
you're killing your legacy.
You're saying he's not great, but then you use a player of his caliber shouldn't have made that move. If he's just a bus rider, then what did it matter? Right? Let you know he's not a great player.
After the fact, he was considered one of the best players in the league. Right? Still is.
He was great. He was great prior to going.
But now he lost his greatness. He can't be categorized as great. I never said he was great. I said he was one of the best.
Oh, so he was one of the best.
One of the best in the league, in the whole league.
And then when he went to Golden State, he lost. He came down in Rod's tears a little bit. And then post Golden State, he's just what? A star? What is he?
Right now, he's a superstar. That's all he gets now. He's a superstar. Because
we need to move on, man. Because
I mean, D. I'm telling you, man. Listen. It's a fact. That was a booty move he did, and therefore it will go down forever in the records of his journey as an NBA player that he did the booty move. You can look it up anywhere right now. Everybody, anywhere.
I'm on Twitter now. I see no booty move. I see,
you know what I'm saying?
2-time champion, two-time MVP. That's what I don't see booty anywhere. There's no booty, nothing.
Booty move. You know it's
everywhere. There's no booty rocking. There's none of that.
That was a sucker MC move, D.
Okay.
He did.
Hey, listen.
We will. The greats don't do that. Greats don't do that.
Some of the greats that you mentioned in the past have tried to do it, but they were just unsuccessful.
But D,
it doesn't matter if it was their last day,
right?
Last game as an NBA player, they still tried to do it.
But
the
same
people that tried to knock him, or some of the same people, because some people that tried it and it failed. Don't say anything about it, because at the end of the day, just like with NFL, NBA, some of them say, man, I wish we had the freedom to make moves, because we would have made moves if we had, but some of them in the off season were selling cars. It's a different NBA now. It's different.
Of course.
Players have more power. to do things now.
Of course.
So when you have power, use it. And so he didn't force a trade. What he did was he made the decision that was best for Kevin Durant. People aren't going to like it, but that's life. I mean, every decision that you have made personally, everyone agrees with. That. I know for me, there's decisions that I make that people don't agree, but I have to do what's best for me.
Listen, we're not talking about his decision from we're not talking about from a life principle perspective. We're just talking from a basketball perspective of being engaged and how you are viewed as a basketball player. I'm not taking anything away from Kevin Durant, the person. I mean, look, whatever other reasons factored into his decision to Golden State that were personal to him, that's fine. Nobody's knocking that. At least I'm not. I'm not going in that arena. I'm just saying, as it relates to basketball and measuring the success of some of the greats, when you look at their career, when you look at a lot of the great players that have played this game of basketball, a lot of them did not do what KD did. And that was to align himself when he has the ability to have won a chip where he would be the lead guy on that team, the alpha on that team. And he did not do that. He went to a team that was already conditioned, primed, and set to win because they still could have beaten LeBron. Okay. The argument is still made because they only split. They split with Cleveland up to that point. Cleveland won one, they won one. It was a split. Draymond doesn't get suspended in that game, then maybe Golden State prevails. So it's not like they needed, like, oh my God, KD, just come and take us over the top. We just need.
Evidently, they thought they needed him.
Right, I mean, but what I'm saying is that, but to KD, I don't know Golden State for that.
They took a jet. Yeah. They took a jet. They took a fighter jet to get to Long Island.
And that's exactly what they did. Thank you for saying that. They took a fighter jet to throw bombs on ants. Because that's what the rest of the NBA was. That's what it was. You brought a straight
they did that. They did all that to recruit him and throw down on the rest of the NBA for his services. And he took his services to Oakland. You know, at the time when they were playing in Oakland. You know, now they play in San Francisco.
Good superstars already. And a team that was already a great team already. He went to another great team. Jordan would have never done that.
Okay, we don't care what
Jordan would have never done that.
Jordan would have never done that. There's a lot of stuff
that Shaq and Kobe was going to join San Antonio.
There's a lot of stuff that Jordan wouldn't have done. There's a lot of stuff that Jordan would have done that LeBron has done, right? If we're being honest, there's a ton of stuff that certain superstars that we hold in high regard have done.
I didn't like what LeBron did, though. I didn't like what. I mean, to your point, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
On about sucker moves.
That was a sucker move. But at least LeBron redeemed himself in the sense where LeBron went and still won 2 more chips. Going back to Cleveland was huge, and he won. And they were not a good team when he went back. They were not a good team when he went back. It ain't like Cleveland was a playoff team. They were horrible when LeBron decided to say, you know what, I'm going to go back to my city and win. You think KD would have done that? Why didn't KD go back to OKC after Golden State? He can't do it because I need stars. I need other players because all I want to do is shoot and play basketball. So I want these other stars with me.
Okay, so he did that. He went back to play with Kyrie, right? So
what? But they were a bad team. That's all they had. That was a bad team.
But he went back to Kyrie,
and he did get Kevin Love in there, and so
Kevin Love too. Okay, yeah, and then what happened in LA? So I need stars too. So he needed stars also.
But was he not the alpha? Was he not the alpha of that team though?
He was the best player.
Yes, KD was the best player, and KD again was the best player skill-wise on Golden State. But clearly he walked into a system, that was already prevailing. You know what I'm saying? LeBron builds teams from the. LeBron took a bad team in Cleveland in the early part of his career to a finals, Like it's a whole different. When you look at the landscape of their careers and what they've done, I can't even put KD. Don't even stand close to what LeBron has accomplished.
The problem is that
no way.
You're comparing them. You're comparing them to their journeys of how they have arrived at greatness are different, right? But ultimately, I don't take away from the greatness of a player just because they've taken different journeys to get to that destination. And that's the difference that we have. The fundamental difference we have is that you will judge a person's journey. I don't. Greatness is greatness. Superstar, and I think superstars are above great anyway. But
who
we
else
need to
is
move
great
on.
in your mind? All right, let's move away from KD for 1 second.
We gotta move on.
We gotta move on. Okay, we're gonna have to come back because I want to hear what I never got your definition of greatness. You've been defending KD's greatness, but I need to know what your definition of greatness and who in the NBA.
Give me a few days to create a whole tier like you had the 47 tiers, 36 chambers of player. Yeah, give me some. I gotta call RZA.
The RZA.
You God, I gotta call you God to get it together. Give me a few minutes. But let's talk about a player who is trying to derail their chance of being great. Man. First, let me tell you about this player. He's one of only 23 players to ever get a signature shoe from Nike. Just signed a 5-year extension for near $200 million. Was raised in a two-parent household. Ja Morant has an affinity to be a thug. Just before the show started, he's on Instagram holding a gun. This is today. Ja Morant pushing up on a security guard at a mall.
Yeah.
Beating up on a 17-year-old, punching him in the face in a pickup game.
Wow.
And my question is, at some point, Ja Morant, what are you trying to prove? You live in Memphis. You know, Memphis is trying, the team as a whole, high level of immaturity. They're trying to create, I don't know if they're trying to create the bad boy type of, I don't understand it. But somebody, Ja Morant's daddy, Usher Raymond, needs to have a conversation with him and say, hey, son, what are you doing? You have everything to lose.
Yeah.
Everything to lose and nothing to gain.
Right.
First of all, you are at a point where if you feel that you have to, or you're putting yourself in arenas where you got to carry a gun like that, and you make enough money, you can have security. You can be selective in what arenas you go to, or what areas, what clubs, if that's your thing. But somebody has to. It's not like we typically hear the stories of, people, not being used to anything, and then, at young ages being, pretty much all this money, all this fame, all this stuff comes to you at once, and you don't know how to handle it. And you have no, I grew up in, a single parent household, and this and that, and now, pretty much I was partially raised by the streets and this, but he hadn't had any of that. But yet, that is what he is drawn to. And so it's sad because this is like, you can see somebody that has so much promise and potential spiraling out of control to keep it real. This is the early signs of when keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah.
What do you say?
No, I think this has a lot to do with the culture. I mean, there's a lot of tentacles to this thing. And I think when you look at Ja Morant's, behavior right now at this point in time, and I hate to use that word behavior, but that's, when you look at his choices, you're looking at something that stems from something that's larger, more grander, and more influential. So when you look at the Black culture, you look at the sensationalism with crime and drugs and women, it's in our music, it's in our images. And so you see a lot of this stuff that's perpetuated. And still, even with it, and I think there's a mastery to those that are behind pushing this imagery to still have that trump success, right? So an athlete could make millions of dollars like what we see Ja Morant making, right? And still that takes a back seat to the images that people have been exposed to all their lives. You know what I'm saying? To the things that they have been in touch with and things that have shaped their thinking and things that they've been exposed to, that still takes precedence over success, right? It's one of these things where our culture as a whole, it's toxic. It's a culture again that perpetuates the demoralizing of women. It's very debasing. very denigrating. And you don't see that in a lot of other cultures, right? Only in the black culture. And so in the NBA, being predominantly a black league, that's where, you get this whole thing where the imagery, and that's where it gets a little shaky, right? Because it's like the NBA wants the whole hip hop thing to be infused in the NBA culture, right? But then it's like when you do that, you're going to end up still getting some of the other toxicity that comes with that culture still seeping into some degree, right? So that's why it's like, yo, what do we do, right? As black players in the NBA, we got to make a decision and say, you know what? We got to change the standard. We got to change the whole imagery. We got to change everything. Like LeBron is a billionaire, right? Still playing, the first player ever to attain $1 billion while still playing in the league, right? No thuggery, no kind of bad boy image, none of that stuff, right? Just a guy that was about business on the court, off the court, and that's the thing, right? And that's a little corny. It's like it's kind of bland, that sort of thing, right? But yet the NBA was still able to do something with that. But I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing a lot of different moving parts when you look at this. You see Ja making bad decisions, people in his camp that clearly are not looking out for him, or less either that or Ja's just completely dismissing any advice that he's getting, any counsel that's coming his way in regards to these choices. So you got that piece that's going on there, and so I feel like what Ja, somebody at somewhere, I think it's going to take a player. We talked about it offline. I was saying Magic, but I think your point was even better. A guy like LeBron, right? If LeBron, which I think he cares, right? I think if LeBron calls him and say, if he hasn't already, perhaps, to say, hey, yo, bro, listen, man, don't do this. What I'm trying to say, get some dudes, come to my crib, let's chill out, let's do whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you got to do. And let's look at your whatever. Look at your circle. Like LeBron, we know his friends. He put them through school. They got educated on the business side of entertainment in the NBA. And look what they've done, right? And they helped him thrive, his brand. And so, getting the right people around Ja, he's definitely going to need to be able to get that. But he's got a lot of stuff within him that he still has not let go of as relates to growing up where he's been. You know what I'm saying?
Where has he been? He's been in prep schools. He has lived a in comparison to maybe some of his contemporaries, he has lived a sheltered life. His parents, so he
that may be the reason why. But I don't think he was completely not exposed though to other nefarious and pessimistic images and different things like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
we
all and all that stuff. But
you can all see it, but there is a difference of seeing it, recognizing it, but also understanding this is a display of immaturity, high level of immaturity.
Definitely.
And what's interesting is Nike dropped Kyrie Irving for his post, but yet all of the laundry list of things that have happened in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Remember, you had something about the team bus where they were playing the Pacers and they had some kind of scope or like red beam on the players.
Right.
There was a talk of the gun situation, beating up a 17-year-old, pushing up on a security guard. So what is Nike saying? What is Nike's approach to it?
Nike's not going to say anything.
We're going to give you a
the NBA.
But my point is this.
Yeah.
Why did Nike drop Kyrie for his post? I'm just putting this out there. For his post about the so-called anti-Semitic movie.
Right.
But yet, this individual that you just gave a signature shoe to replace Kyrie is doing things that are negative for his image, should reflect poorly on Nike as a corporation, supporting him and being in partnership with him. And I'm not saying that he should lose his deal.
No.
But what I'm saying is, why is Nike okay with this imagery, the way he's conducting himself?
Well, that's a rhetorical question, right, D? I mean, you know why.
No, but this is something that we need to think about as a whole, as Nike. I love Nikes. I wear Nikes, but I also have to think about the fact that you're okay with this. You're okay with someone, brandishing a gun and beating up somebody and, running up on security and, being a thug.
Right.
But you're not okay with somebody expressing themselves and just doing something as simple as posting a link, which still gives the person the opportunity to click on the link or not. This is Ja Morant's behavior is in your face.
Yeah.
The fact that almost every other Memphis game, they're ready to fight and everyone's ready to do another, Malice in the Palace, that's in your face.
Right.
And that's your spokesperson. That's someone that you have aligned yourself with. So Nike has some explaining to do also. Because if you're willing to part ways with Kyrie, then you should be just as willing to part ways with Ja Morant.
Yeah, you should be. You should be. But again, it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, trust me, it's going to have to be some more incidents to take place before they finally say something. And who's going to say something? It's going to have to come from maybe some strong lobbyist group or somebody that's going to have to be able to have enough pressure to put on and to push the needle. But again, when the culture is like what it is and they want to see the perpetuation of that, they don't mind. Because again, it's destructive to us. So it doesn't matter to them. That doesn't matter. We could still make millions. Because here's the key. Who's going to not buy Ja Morant's shoes? It's not like his shoe sales is going to suffer. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And as long as there are certain things,
but they have an opportunity
say,
because his shoes don't drop till April, right? And so we see what Adidas did with Kanye, right? They
for the same reasons that Kyrie got
him down, right?
Right.
And then it seems like there's reports that they have to crawl their way back because they're losing $1.3 billion.
Yep, they are.
And so now they
that
have
doesn't matter to them.
It's not but they're crawling their way back to Kanye to try to sell all of the it's not in a deal to further put out shoes. It's just all of the inventory they have.
Right.
Because it's about the bottom line.
But D, the one thing that the bottom line in the other cultures, always understand this. The bottom line when it comes to money it never trumps. Ever. It will never supersede or supplant the family dynamic of a culture. Adidas knew exactly what they were going to get into when they let Kanye go. They already knew what they were going to be facing money-wise. It didn't matter to them because you know why? You're not going to disrespect our culture and our name because that's money they can make back. That's not a problem. See, money to them doesn't matter because they control the circulation of money. So economy, when you got your hand and influence in economy, you ain't worried about losing a couple of billion. That don't matter. But you're not going to disrespect our family. You're not going to. That's the difference between our culture and other cultures. You're not going to disrespect our family. You're not going to disrespect the fabric of who we are, our religion, our principles,
morals, all of that.
All that is way more important to them than the dollar.
The moral compass shifts with dollar signs. And it's unfortunate for our community. And it's not all, right? Obviously, it's not all. But you find that they find pockets of people that they can influence. And it's like, hey, listen, we will put you out there. You will be, we'll have you on every commercial. We'll get you a McDonald's deal where you'll have your own signature McDonald's meal. As long as anything you want, as long as you're tearing down your community.
Exactly.
And as long as you're a contributor to destroying your community.
That's it.
We got you. We got you covered.
We
won't spare no expense putting a push behind you. But the second that you have something to say, the second that you have something that is not a popular opinion, or you dig deeper into who you are as a person, who you come from, where you come from.
Right.
That's a bridge.
That's a bridge. And they're not having that.
Yeah,
they're not going to have that.
We got to shut that down quick.
That's
and
why
then
Morant going to be all right. They're not going to do nothing to him. He's not, trust me, he's going to be all right.
Well, I'll say this.
This was going to happen.
Endorsements-wise, payment-wise, but you can't, it's just like anything else. Like someone says, you can't play being a boxer, right? There's certain things that you can't play with, right? And you can't play being a thug or a gangster, right? At some point, that may come back to bite you.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
Ja Morant's father, his parents, people, his covering that we talked about earlier,
Right.
that's a perfect example that you need a covering.
You
You
need a
need
covering. He
somebody
needs us. He
that
needs
is
that.
smarter than you
Right.
to impart wisdom. And
Correct.
clearly, all his moves, even this morning, with all what's going on, instead of saying, yo, I got to get low. I got this kid saying I punched him in the face 100 times. And I got the security guard saying I ran up on him. I got this kid saying that I flashed a gun. And, you know, his boy said, yo, I should give it to him. And yeah, and I'm going to give. And then you punched him. That stuff, instead of him saying, yo, let me get quiet. I got a lot to lose here.
Yeah.
Forget money. Forget money. Forget fame. I could lose my life. Memphis is not a walk in the park.
No,
there are people that will end your life
way back, bro. Yeah,
for nothing. For nothing.
Yeah.
For just the credit of saying they did it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Foolishness.
Yeah, foolishness.
So you have a lot to lose and you have to be focused on that. And I think somebody hopefully will have a conversation with him. You would think his circle, being his parents, would be the first people to say, hey, son, we just saw this. What are you doing? But if your interest is, and and this is the problem, when someone is footing the bill and they are they're the breadwinner, a lot of times that becomes, hey, I can't really say, you know, because I'm on the, you know, I got great seats at all these games that he plays at. So at some point, is his father compromising, telling his son what is right? Because he wants to be the person that all of the NBA players that play against his son gap him up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
right.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We'll see. You know, to be determined what Nike does, what Ja Morant does, what his camp, people that should care about the you know, him as a whole. Forget playing ball. This is this behavior. And these patterns are concerning to put it mildly, are concerning. And it's his trajectory of what his career could, based on skills and what the NBA is trying to afford him with a platform, could be through the roof. He can derail that with these actions, with the gun up to his ear, and with just foolishness. Just foolishness.
Yeah.
But lastly, before we wrap up, let's talk about Deion Sanders real quick.
Yep.
He was I'll play the video first and then we can kind of talk about it briefly before we go.
Different positions are different. Like O-lineman, I look for dual parent homes, a strong father that they adhered to. Smart kid, at least 3'3" and above.
You're also describing Hurts.
Yeah, tough.
Well. I mean,
physical. I mean, offensive lineman. Defensive lineman is totally opposite.
What do you mean?
Single mama. Trying to get it. He's on free lunch. I mean, I'm talking about just trying to make it. He trying to rescue mama.
Okay, Deion. I like Deion Sanders. Deion, you have to take a page from Dave Chappelle. When Dave Chappelle was at the peak and everybody was watching his show, he had to come to a point where he said, you know, these skits that I'm creating, are people laughing with me or laughing at me? And his depiction, his ignorant depiction of what he looks for in a position player that he's recruiting is detrimental and it's damaging. And the people that he was interviewing, like this appears to be during the Super Bowl, they were laughing at you. And I don't know if you thought it was cool, but what does that say? If we're plagued by single parents in our community, there's not enough. We have issues with, single mothers, or single fathers raising kids, because through a design to destroy the fundamental Black family, you're now making light of it, and now you're trying to use that and capitalize off of that dysfunction. And even if that is the way that you recruit, what you look for, you couldn't have said it differently. Like, I want them to be hungry. I want them to, want football more than, anything. Whatever cliche phrases you could have used. Mm-hmm. But you want to use, I want them to be impoverished. I want them to be of a single family, understanding statistically what that does to a person. Now, we just talked about Ja Morant, who had both his parents that's trying to be a thug. But statistically, having both parents gives you a leg up. You're going to now hone in on that, and that's what you're going for, and you're going to share that with the world. What do you say about that? It was just extremely ignorant.
It was very ignorant by Deion to say such a thing. And what's sad about it is that he just perpetuated a whole narrative and mindset that, the European construct supports, right? And so when you look at the NCAA, you look at the NFL, you go to the NCAA level for the ADs, athletic directors, coaches, that's what they always deem, right? So when you look at the quarterback, when Deion says, I want this kind of quarterback, he needs to be intelligent, come from a two-parent home, needs to have all these, he's implying that all these perfect scenarios have to be in place. He's got close to a 4.0 GPA, all of this stuff, right? Again, the quarterback position has always been looked at as a position that only an intelligent player can play, right? And for decades, or since the inception of the NFL, that position has predominantly been occupied by a white player. So because they were perceived to be smarter than a black player. Now, we see the game changing a little bit because of the athleticism now that the black quarterback had to actually bring that dynamic to the game. And then, of course, GMs, coaches, ADs, and coaches from the collegiate level are able to say, hey, we could benefit from that now. We don't need the guy to be that smart. All he got to do now is just be able to run the ball now. We got RPOs. We can benefit from his athleticism, right? But the prototype quarterback still has to be this kind of way. And that's how that position in particular has always been viewed at. So they look for the model kind of athlete that could play that position. And that's how that was always perpetuated. Deion only further exacerbated that when he made that comment. That's why it was so ignorant. So now you're a black head coach in a D1 school, and now you've put that position in. So what is a black quarterback now? So you mean to tell me, Deion, that if there's a kid somewhere in the country who is really good at playing quarterback, but maybe only have a B average or a C plus average and only from a single parent home, he's not good enough to play for your team because he doesn't meet these other criteria? Meanwhile, your own son comes from a broken family, right? Because his mom and you were not together. Y'all divorced. So he came up in a single family home. So my whole thing is, it's hypocritical. It was idiotic. It was very juvenile, and it was so what's the word I'm looking for? Where he completely was not able to read or judge the climate or the tenor of where we are and where you are as a head coach that's black in a D1 school with all the stuff you just took on coming from an HBCU. Now you bring that into this narrative because why? Is that what the establishment wants you to do now? Is that where you now coming and conforming to that system when you say that? Listen.
Or was that him the whole time?
Was that him the whole time? Right.
So you have to look at the fact that was that the Trojan horse? You go into HBCU to get your shot.
Oh, yeah. He said he wanted to do that. Yeah.
All the while you thought this is how you recruit. Because coming from an HBCU, understanding some of the hurdles that HBCUs as far as funding and exposure and all of that stuff, you were able to provide Jackson State for that short period of time. Right. ESPN, there are great players, Hall of Fame players, some of the greatest that have ever played positions that came from HBCUs.
Right.
So for you to then adopt that same train of thinking, that line of thinking that you need to be, 6'5" and you have to have this GPA and you got to have both parents and you got to live in a house and not an apartment and foolishness. Yeah, it's foolishness. And unfortunately for him, and more of what I have a problem with or equally to is who he was interviewing. Like, who was interviewing him And when they're laughing like that,
the Rich Eisen,
Rich Eisen and whoever else was on the show, they were laughing. Did you think that what you said was that funny? Or were they laughing at the condition that unfortunately too much of us or too many in our community face? Right. They were laughing at you and laughing at us.
Right.
And here you are, and here you are as a puppet looking stupid and making those comments as if this is just matter of fact, where you were kind of signing off that this is how black players should be. All of them should be recruited, or this is how they should be judged. When, forget what they, of course, if they have off the field stuff, regardless of color, race, or anything, that needs to be judged. But if a person has a desire and has the skill and has displayed that, that's what you should be basing it off of. The best player for the position. Right. Not, I got to dig deeper and I got to see where your mom worked and what she did and were you on school lunch. That is I'm very disappointed by his statements and also the fact that he felt at liberty to say that, even though he was being laughed at. I'm sure he thought he was just being funny and they were just fine. But Deion, clearly they were laughing at you.
Oh, no question. And I'll say this last retort on this real quick is that, and it's unfortunate that in the black community, it's always looked at like the best quality of production you can get from black people are the ones that are deep entrenched in the hood, right? With all of these disadvantages. I mean, D, you and I came up in the projects, right? We lived in the projects in Brooklyn. But yet, we had 2-family homes. We had, good principles coming out of God-fearing homes and different things of that nature, right? And it didn't quell our thirst to succeed, right? It didn't quell our desire to want better for ourselves. We were still exposed to crime. We knew people that committed crimes, that were subject to crimes and different things that we saw in our community, but yet we still came from, again, good family homes and stuff like that. But it still didn't guarantee us any success, right? We still had to work. We still had to put our mind to whatever it is that we wanted to do, to put ourselves in position to get careers, to support our families, our wives, and our children. So my whole thing is that I think it's always this misnomer. And I think that, again, that's part of the narrative, right? Exclude, divide, and conquer the community. Let the ones that are really in the hood, when they make it, that's more of a success story, right? But meanwhile, the guy that's in the middle class situation, he's not considered to be much of anything or can add any value because his story doesn't fit the model we need because it sells better, it looks better, it depicts something different. And I think that's very unfair because at the end of the day, being black people in America, it is what it is, no matter what your economic or social status will be. At some point, you're still going to be looked at for the color of your skin, and it's still going to mean whatever it's going to mean in that context. And so I think, again, that's another narrative that we've got to be able to dispel, that, somebody who has lunch money, getting free lunch and a single mom doesn't make them any less hungry than a kid that comes from a 2-parent home. So, I think that's another thing that needs to be considered.
Yeah, definitely. I just, hopefully he looks at that show again and just changes the narrative, because he has influence. People are listening to him. Sure. He has the world's ear, the way he's moved, the way he has connection with the culture.
Yep.
I mean, people from all over, rappers, actors, musicians. Yeah. They will go to the school and do tours, and he's really active on social media. So people, when you have that platform, you have to be responsible. You have to really think and guard your words. You have to give thought to it. You can't just say stuff that you would say maybe off camera. You have to be, intentional with what you say. And unfortunately, sometimes a flip of the lip, people will take it. Oh, Deion said that. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of arguably the best corner that ever played. That's what we should look at. Exactly. And if they ever go and use that model or further perpetuate that, Deion gave them an out.
Right.
Hey, he said it. Listen, you got to be impoverished. You can't have a good family structure. This is what is the key to success.
Correct.
And I think it's just a unfortunate interview, and hopefully he'll do better. But in any case, Rod, man, it was a pleasure.
Always, man. Another
great
fire
show.
Great show.
Good
today.
talking to you, man. Shout outs to Infinite Audio for the music. Shout outs to Kingdom Creative for the production. What would we do? Hey, if we didn't have Kingdom Creative. But listen, please like, share, subscribe.
Yes, please.
Facebook, YouTube page. Please comment. If you think we're far, if you think we're off base with Deion, if you think KD and Kevin and Charles Barkley, that feud shit in, you think it's jealousy, you think it's personal. Listen, should LeBron shut down and think long term, next 2-3 years to prolong it.
Right.
Please comment, like, share, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube page. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.